So hi guys, in previous lecture we understand how to take the initial configuration, how to do the initial configuration of the FortiGate firewall. We also understand, right, what is the username, default password, and how basically we can configure any interface from the DSCP to static, how the mode is going to be changed, right? So in this lecture, we are going to understand how basically this firewall interface, that is a port 1 will get the IP automatically from the DSCP server, because this cloud having a DSCP server enabled, so it will get the automatic IP address, and it is just acting as a for the management also, and also acting as a WAN interface. So this is going to serve two purpose. It is just acting as a WAN as well, and also for the management interface. Let me just write here, MG, MT, and the WAN. So why it's WAN? Because the LAN traffic you want to go on the internet, so by this doing the NAT, it will go to the internet. Okay. So we'll see how it is going to happen and how the policy need to be configured. So initially, let me just log in this particular firewalls. Again, the username will be the admin. Let me just go admin. Password no. So again, we have to set the admin. So this is my password. So now if I show the command, source system interface, sorry, just put a question mark. So you'll see this interface now this time get the automatic IP address. We didn't define the IP address. This is the automatic IP address get. So this is the actually this port having the IP address from the DHCP server. So if you run this particular command, port 1, so you'll find that this interface having the already IP address, and also ping, HTTP, SSH, this FGFM, these all are allowed, and mode is the DHCP. So if this is how it is going to happen. So if you want to take this GUI access, so from this management PC you can take this GUI access, just turn on the PC. This is going to get the IP address from this range only. So you can just directly ping and you can take the GUI access. And for me, my PC is already in the same LAN, so I can go in the browser, I can take the GUI access. How we can do that? So I just go here and just I have to write the IP address 175. Let me see the IP address. So let me just close this one. So IP is 175. So let me just enter. See, this is the IP address. So now I'm in the FortiGate firewall admin. Password is admin. It is again begin. So I'll just change the host name. Anything I can give the name FortiGate firewall, optional, and okay. So unable to connect the FortiGuard server. No need to worry about that. This is about the security protections. So we'll discuss it later. So now this particular interface, you can see here, this particular interface having the IP address, which is basically taken from the DHCP, because this is the interface which is configured as a DHCP. And you can see if you change it manual, so you just have to give the IP address manually, or you can just keep the same. But we are not going to do that. Okay. So this interface also acting as a WAN interface, and also it is acting as a management interface. So if anything I want to change on the interface, so in alias, right? So I can just write here the WAN and MGMT interface. So I'm just put it here. I just put it okay. So now you go in the CLI and try to see here. So you can see there is a alias that is mentioning this interface acting as a WAN and the management interface. That's fine. So this is acting as a WAN. So if you go here and try to ping, so how the ping is going to check? So execute ping need to run this command, execute ping and any address for the internet. So see here. So this firewall having the internet reachability. If you want to execute the same as a google.com, so here google.com, it is also pinging. But this is the best practice whenever you just want to configure the FortiGate firewall, always configure the DNS server. It is just using the primary, secondary DNS server, which is the internet FortiGate base. But sometime if it is not reachable, let me just see. It is taking the router DNS or the same DNS. Let me just ping it here. So it is just taking this DNS, so no need to worry about that. Okay. So what you have to do if you want to specify the DNS, you just put here the 8.8.8 and 1.1.1. This is also going to work for you. So apply. This DNS has been applied. So now your DNS has been changed. So this is always best practice. You always change the DNS setting as well. Right. So now we're done with the WAN interface configuration. But what about the LAN interface configuration? Which interface acting as a LAN? That is a 1/3. So how basically this interface going to be configured, and after configuring this interface, how we can configure the switch. This switch, I'm not going to do any configuration here. This all switch show VLAN brief. All port are going to stay in the same VLAN. No need to do any configuration because by default they are going to stay in the same VLAN. So PC and this port is not need to be configured. So how this port is going to be configured? I can configure the CLI and GUI both. So right now I have the GUI, so I configure the CLI. So this is the port 3, and I can go and click this port, and I can just put this port. Likewise, the LAN zone, I can just put anything. LAN interface for which subnet 172.16.10.0/24. It's too long. So just leave it LAN interface. If anything you want to specify the zone and all, it can be used. But just put the LAN interface, right? Role, I'm not going to define any role here. I just use a undefined. But if I want to do also, how we can do that in the later stage. Zone concept, I'm not going to use anything from here. Now it is asking how the IP is going to be assigned for particular this interface. It should be the manual DHCP, automate or auto managed by a PIPA, one arm sniper. So we'll understand one by one. So we know manual means we have to assign that. If we talk with the DHCP, that is going to try to get IP address from DHCP. So this time I'm going to do the manual because these interfaces are showing in the static mode. So let me show you. So sorry. These three is a static. Only one interface is a DHCP enable. So I'll go and configure the IP address. Which IP address? 172.16.10.1. So here I'll go 172.16.10.1/24. This is the IP address. If you want to define any secondary IP address, you can do that. Now it is asking on this particular interface, what type services you want to enable. So what services you want to enable? HTTP, ping, FTM, SSH. Like I just want HTTPS, SSH, right? I want to allow the ping as well. There is no option for the HTTP, right? Unsecure one. So we can enable via the CLI, but there's no option from the GUI. So for time being, we can leave it. Okay. So I just apply this IP address and these services. Just click OK. So now this interface, you can say the IP address and these three services has been allowed. Go in the CLI and try to run this command and see this having the three services. So if my HTTPS is not going to work, so I can go and the CLI allow the HTTP as well. Okay. So let me see. By the way, I don't need HTTP here because GUI access already have taken from this particular management interface. So no need. Ping is definitely required. So I'll go on this particular user PC and I will also try to assign the IP address. So PC password I'll give here. So let me just put it here. Change your opacity. Here is the username is sorry IP is 172.16.10.1. 10, and this is 255. And now here you just configure 172.16.10.1. So now if we want to go on the internet, so definitely the gateway is always going to require. Gateway is always going to required. So at least we'll reach to the firewall. And further from the firewall, it will go to the internet. So gateway I've given, this is the, because it is configured on this particular location. But if you want to do the web browsing, like you want to open the Google, Facebook, Yahoo, so for that, you just have to define the DNS server name. So you can use this 111 or 8.8. So these are the DNS server, global DNS server, you can use it. So now you can see here, and let me just go in the CMD. If I try to ping my first gateway, let me just check the show IP, IP config. So this is the IP config, and let me just ping as 172.16.10.1. It is pingable. But if I try to reach to internet, let me see if internet is reachable or not. This is not reachable. Why? We just have to figure it out. Why my internet is not reachable from this particular PC? So see, again, similar to the Palo Alto firewall or any other firewall, to go on the internet, because your LAN having always a private IP address. This is your private IP. This private IP cannot route over the internet because internet always understand the public IP address. This is your WAN interface. Still, we having the private IP address range here, but actual router of the GuiNet having the public IP address here. So it's having like internal setting. So these acting as a public network, but again, it is getting translated on the actual public internet. So if you are coming with the private, then you just have to do the NAT, source NAT. Without source NAT, you cannot go on the internet. So you just have to change your IP address. This is your NAT. The first thing, NAT is going to be required. The second thing, even you do the NAT, but if there is no routing, so how you can go to the internet? So routing is also going to require. Third thing, you require the policy to go on the internet. So these three things we didn't do still now. So how it is going to done, right? So let's understand and do one by one how the NAT is going to happen, how the policy is going to happen, and how routing is going to happen. So let's do first step as a routing. So always do first as a routing, best practice. So let me just complete my routing part. So this is my routing. So how the routing is going to happen? Routing is always, because you are going on the internet, so internet always having the default route. And what is the next hop? Next hop is your ISP gateway IP address. So in that case, 192.168.1.1. This would be my internet gateway. So how basically I can define the routing in the FortiGate Firewall? So you just have to go in the FortiGate Firewall. After going in the FortiGate Firewall, you can see we having the network section. In this network section, we having the static route, we having a dynamic routes. So even we want to build the BGP, so we just have to use the dynamic route for the default route. But here we don't do the BGP, we'll go the static default route. So I'll just create this route by clicking here, and in this create route, I'll just go here and put destination and subnet. So see, this is the default route already put it here. So if you want to define, you can just go and define this way also. There's no problem. You can just go and define this way also. Or even you leave left with this default setting, it is also going to work. What is the gateway? So gateway is 192.168.1.1. So I'll just go here 192.168.1.1. And it is asking from which interface you want to go there. So it already taken one by port 0. See, once you put the IP address, it automatically selected. But if you want to change, you can change it. But I'm not going to change. It is the correct. And administration distance, like AD values, by default for the FortiGate Firewall is going to be 10. You can change it, but this is the default one. If you want to write, so any comment, so default route towards internet. You can just put it here. And you should be enable, not disable. And you just internet services, a lot of internet services. If you want to put the like default route based on some kind of the Google, Yahoo, Facebook, then you can define. But here I just want to send for the all. So that's why I'm not selecting the internet services. I'm selecting the subnet. That is a completely entire destination, not specific for the Google because Google having a lot of destination. So Fortinet like internal engine understand those all routes and it's keep updating always. There's no problem going to be happen. So if you want to do later, I'll show you if you want to do the Google based routing, Facebook based routing. So this all is going to be happen, and you just have to specify those routings one by one. And here is like the dynamic. If you want to give the gateway, it is going to take dynamic, but I just here specify the port number and then I'll click OK. Advanced settings also we have. Let me show you. I forgot to show some advanced option like you want to give the priority and all, so you can give it. I'll show you how the priority come in a picture. For timing, you leave it. So we're done with the routing. Now we just have to done. Second one is the policy. How the policy need to define. So routing part done. We have to. So routing done. Policy. How the policy need to be configured. So policy, you have to go in the policy section. In this policy section, you just have to create the firewall policy. So in this firewall policy, you just have to create the new firewall policy. There is no policy. In the Palo Alto, by default, we having a policy, intrazone and interzone. But here there is no any policy. So you just have to configure the policy by one by one. Everything by default deny. So you still even see the routing is done, but still it's not pinging. Still not pinging. But let me just define some policy. So policy name like LAN to internet policy, right? So now it's asking what is the incoming interface. So that is a port 3. You can see here. This is the incoming interface. This is the port 3. Let me leave it here. So port 3. So let me just put it here. So my port 3 is a LAN interface. Now it's asking what is the outgoing interface. But natural, we'll use this port 1. This is going as a WAN. So I'll go here. And this is the WAN. What is source? So it is asking source address. So you can give all or you can give the specific source also. So we don't have any source creations. If you want to create the object for the source, you can create from here. So address, you just create here and just put the LAN subnet. Just put here. And color you want to change, you can just define any color. Let me just put this one green. Subnet, and here I'll put the 172.16.10.0/24. Right, LAN subnet and interface. You just select like this is the one by LAN interface. This is LAN interface. See, so this port is subnet you are specifying, right? So I'll click OK. So see, now this is the LAN subnet. So I can select this. The traffic will come from the LAN subnet, and now it is asking what is the destination. So internet destination could be anything. So you always select the all. Or if you want to go any internet services like Google, Facebook based destination from this source, then you can, or Gmail, you select that. But I just want to go all, not any specific internet service. So I'll click all. If you want to schedule that, you can schedule that is going to work particular that time, but always services, it is going to ask what services you want to allow. Like any port, HTTP, HTTPS, FTP, or any services you want to create by on. I say all services because later we'll see how the services can be restricted. So all services. Now it is asking Do you want to accept or deny? So definitely, I just want to allow the internet. It's not pinging, so I will accept it. Now it is asking what is a flow base and proxy base. How you want to do the inspection. So I'll explain what is a flow base and what is a proxy base in the separate session, because if I go and explain, then probably you'll confuse. So, but go with the default, that is a flow base. We'll discuss what is a proxy base as well. Now, the most important thing, firewall network option, there is a NAT option. So by default, if any private subnet want to communicate with any public and you want to do the NAT, so it will automatically do the source NAT. So I told you, there is three things going to be required: the NAT, policy, and the routing. So policy we done, almost done. Routing we done, but NAT part. If I just uncheck this one, the still we just have to enable the NAT. So let me just uncheck. So NAT is going to be disabled. But if you check it, it is saying that how NAT you want to use. Using the outgoing interface similar to the PAT, or you want to define the dynamic pool and IP. So if you select the dynamic pool and IP, then you have to create the dynamic pool and IP. But if you select the outgoing interface, then it will automatically do the PAT on this particular interface. So for timing, I'm not going to enable it. Now there is a lot of option. You want to enable the security profiles, antivirus, web filtering. Yes, so we'll discuss step by step all later. SSL inspection, logging policy. So now I'm going to create OK. My policy created. You can see, but still my ping is not working. My ping is not working because my still NAT is not there. So we have to go here. Let me just cancel it. And if I enable the NAT here, the third option using the outgoing interface, and the moment I'll click OK, probably you'll see the magic and my internet should start working. See? So the moment I committed, my internet start working. So if I go in the browser, the ping is already working. And if I go here and open the google.com, see, Google also work. If you want to use a facebook.com, it's all going to work for you. There's no problem at all. See, Facebook login page also open. So now it's proof this my firewall is allowing the connection. And if you see here how much traffic has been processed, you can see here this much traffic they have processed. And you want to see a little bit in the system and let me show you something. Log and reports. So if you want to see the log settings, so it is shall they enable events, forward traffic. So there's nothing, traffic, nothing. Antivirus, still there is no logs file, but definitely they will going to update after some time. So let me see here, system log is not showing here for some reason. Status, go in the status, and here something CPU utilization, you can see memory, you can see 75% used, network if you want to see here. So you can see the routing, static route we configured, one static route connected, we having multiple connected DHCP, SD-WAN not configure, pages and devices. So right now logs and report is still not showing for some reason, but it will definitely show. Probably due to license expire, it is not showing, but I'll show later state how the logs, everything is going to. So all communication, what is happening, it is going to show in the logs. There's no problem is going to happen. You can see here. So what all configuration we have done, firewall edit policy, user, who access what. So all events is showing in terms of the configuration. What the configuration you have done, these are all showing to you. You want to download, you can download. Yeah, you can see. This is the system configuration you want to show. So these all events it is showing, and if you want to see the router events, nothing. Um, Forwarding logs, there's no logs, right? Source, nothing is showing, but definitely it will show once I have the license one firewall. The all logs is going to be show. So upcoming session when I tell how the license firewall going to be created for the 15 days free of cost, and you just have to create the account. You can do that. Even you want to take the CLI access to the firewall, you can just, this is the best thing of the FortiGate. So system interface, any interface you want to check, the CLI you will just get from the here only. So if you want to check the port 3, it is going to say, so any configuration you want to take CLI, it is going to work directly from this particular. So anytime you want to take the CLI, you can just take it from anywhere. From even from here also, you want to take the CLI, you can just go and take the CLI. Always you can take the CLI from this. So I hope you guys understand how basically this internet connection is going to be happen, how the my LAN and WAN connection is going to be created, how my traffic is going to be processed from this particular firewall, and how the NAT is going to happen. So we'll do the deep dive step by step everything, and we'll understand what is the virtual pair, what is the everything about the FortiGate dashboard, initial working labs, interfaces, everything we'll configure and understand in the deep dive according to the course content. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you again in the next video.